When the Switch 2 was announced, it felt like we finally made it to the big leagues with Sony and Microsoft. It was highlighted by an explosion of third-party support with titles like Street Fighter 6 and Cyberpunk 2077, both showcasing visuals we had never seen on a Nintendo console. From fighters, to racers, to RPGs, the lineup was stacked. But as more and more details emerged, the excitement I felt slowly started to unravel. The deeper I looked, the more it became clear. Physical game collectors were getting the short end of the Switch 2. Games like Split Fiction and Bravely Default, two titles I was overjoyed to hear that were coming to the Switch 2, were announced as physical releases, only to rip my excitement from me, revealing that they're not truly physical at all. Some games come with the download code in the box, others use a new format called the game keycard. And what about the games that launch physically on the original Switch? Well, most are either locked behind a paid upgrade or worse, require a full repurchase. And for me, someone who's always preferred having the actual game in hand, I found myself frustrated. The questions and odd decisions have been rattling in my head these last few weeks, slowly emerging into one large messy picture. Third-party developers are stepping away from physical cartridges, opting instead for cheaper, downloadable options first, leading to a question about the future for this generation of Switch 2. Outside of Nintendo's own exclusive first-party titles, will this be the beginning of the end, where digital titles rule? To begin diving into this possibly overdramatic analysis of the future of a generation, all based on its launch day, I think it's best to break down the options we've been presented for games. Physical, game keycards, download codes, and digital are all the ways that games will be launching on Switch 2. Though, the overwhelming majority of games coming from third parties appear to be coming in the form of game keycards. And just what are they? Game keycards are a new frontier for Switch 2, and not really in a good way. These are physical cartridges, yes, but not in the traditional sense. Instead of containing the game itself, they hold basically a key that redeems the download from the eShop. No game data on the card, just a glorified access pass. Almost everything with these cards is a double-edged sword. You can trade or resell the card just like a physical game, but no matter what, you need the downloadable space regardless. You don't technically need to buy the game through the eShop, but at the end of the day, you're still fully reliant on Nintendo's servers, at least initially. And once those go offline, the card becomes useless. It's a ticking bomb for preservation. So I asked myself, why is this happening? The simple answer, money. It's cheaper for developers and publishers to skip the full card and go digital. And if you think it's not cheaper, let's look at the launch lineup. Square Enix with Bravely Default, Capcom with Street Fighter 6, and then Sega. Sega. Sega is providing massive support for the Switch 2 with Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, Yakuza 0, Raiden, Puyo Puyo, and 2 Point Museum. Every title here is a game keycard. It's undeniable. And to make matters worse, every one of those games was, is, and will be available on a full cartridge for Switch 1. But here on Switch 2, they're just keys. And to add to the bad news, none of these offer an upgrade path for people who already own the game physically. It's double dipping or nothing. It's not a question if the developers can put the games on the Switch 2 without a download, it's a question if they will. Among all the digital noise, one studio is standing tall, CD Projekt Red. One of the most ambitious open-world games of the last generation, Cyberpunk 2077 is making its way to Switch 2, and it's coming fully on cart. And it's the only Switch 2 launch title from a third-party developer to do so. Because of that, they're making a name for themselves, and making an additional sale with me. The game is for physical fans and preservationists. But maybe it's just the launch titles, somebody might be asking. Well, after launch, things aren't looking much better. Multiple developers have already announced that their games, like Shadow Labyrinth, Wild Hearts S, and Star Wars Outlaws, are all arriving as, yep, you already know, game keycards. Which should be sounding the alarm in your head. It's not just a problem for collectors, but anyone who cares about preservation. One day those keycards won't work. One day the eShop will be shut down, and then when that happens, a large chunk of the Switch 2's library will vanish, despite it being physical. All this, and we haven't even mentioned how these physical games still required a large download to play. Street Fighter 6 alone takes up about 50 gigabytes, and Star Wars Outlaws takes about another 60 gigabytes to download. And with the Switch 2's 256 gigabyte internal storage, it quickly feels laughably small. Your games will be battling for room on your console immediately, or you will be needing to fork over nearly an additional $100 or more for a decent sized micro SD card, since they're now using the Express version. It's all just looking a little grim. So it begs the question, is this the end of physical media on the Switch 2? Not entirely, but we are inching closer. It's true, a large majority of third-party titles will be coming as keycards. And it's disappointing, yes, as well as confusing. Still, for many of us, owning a game means owning the cartridge. Not a code, not a key, an actual playable card. And while I'll always pick that option when it's available, the reality is game keycards are becoming a standard for third-party support. And the future really does look empty for the Switch 2's physical games. But luckily, not all of them will be, at least not from Nintendo. The first-party titles appear to be staying the way of the past, fully on cart, but that's for now. Who knows when Nintendo will begin to push some of their less popular titles or smaller projects onto these game keys. Surely, it's only a matter of time. Not to end everything with doom and gloom, but the current state of third-party support really isn't setting the stage for a hopeful light at the end of the tunnel. But anything is possible, so here's to hoping that developers take notes from CD Projekt Red and Marvelous and follow in their footsteps to provide fans with the content they want, the way they want it. Thanks for watching. Till next time.